Hello, dear students. As you know that this is a online platform of KTHM College, and today we are going to deal with the poem "The Orphan Girl" by Henry Louis Vivian Derozio. So, dear students, let's have a look at the recap of the previous lecture. So, in the previous lecture, we had a glimpse at the life of, or at a short biography of poet Vivian Louis Derozio, and we had learned the poem "Freedom to the Slave." So, as we know that the freedom is the sole theme of this poem, so we had learned, or we had seen this theme in detail in the earlier lecture, and this is the session agenda for today's lecture. So today we'll see the background of the poem, then I'll read the poem and poem analysis, part 1 and part 2. There are two parts of the poem, so we'll see the detailed analysis of this poem. So there are learning objectives to briefly explain the background of the poem, analysis of the poem, and the student will be able to identify the condition of woman and the suppression which she faced during the time of the poet. Now we'll see the background of the poem. The poem shows the pitiless earth cannot appreciate any barefoot woman. Through the symbol of an orphan girl, the poet describes it. The girl was still young and beautiful, but it seemed that fate had ordained for her much woe in a pitiless world. She is a poor, friendless wanderer in this world. The father of the girl was a soldier at the wake of the war. He went to war and fought bravely and experienced the battle. The battle shock, shout, and scar of the war, and then he gained a glorious grave. Means he lost his life, or means he lose his life in this war. This gave, and nothing else was the reward of his bravery. Means this was the only reward for his bravery in this world of human beings. That is death. The wife of the soldier, the mother of girl, could not bear the shock and could not endure a widow's life, and so she died of heart attack, and she left her infant girl parentless. So, in this unsympathetic black earth, the girl did not have any friend who would give her shelter, warmth, and a home. So, she was destined to go through the dreary desert of this earth all alone. In her lonely journey, she was not allowed to deviate from the path of virtue, for the world would then scorn her, and their scorn might slay her. But she was left, and it was a coldly cruel act to wound the bosom of a woman whose blood pool would gush unbound. The man who shelters such an orphan girl from sorrows and shame, his honored name will be blessed forever. So, this was the background of the poem. And now we'll see the poem in detail. First of all, I'll read the poem. So, just pay attention. So, this is a poem, "The Orphan Girl" by Henry Louis Vivian Derozio. Her hair was black as a raven's wings, her cheeks the tulip's hue did wear. Her voice was soft as when night winds sing, her brow was as a moonbeam fair. Her sire had joined the wake of war, the battle shock, the shout and scar. He knew and gained a glorious grave. Such is the guerdon for a brave. Her anguished mother's suffering heart could not endure a widow's part. She sunk beneath her soul's distress, and left her infant parentless. She hath no friend on this cold, bleak earth to give her a shelter, a home, and a hearth. Through life's dreary desert alone she must wend, for alas, the wretched have never a friend, and should she stray from virtue's way, the world will scorn, and scorn can slay. Ah, shame hath enough to wring the breast, with a weight of sorrow and guilt oppressed. But oh, it is coldly cruel to wound the bosom whose blood must gush unbound. No tear is so bright as the tear that flows for erring woman's unpitied woes, and blessed be for ever his honored name, who shelters an orphan from sorrow and shame. So this was the poem. I've just read the poem, and now we'll see the poem in detail. The poem Orphan Girl begins with the description of the orphan girl. According to the poet, her orphan girls means her hair was black as raven's wings. Raven means, dear students, raven means a bird. Yeah, it's a crow, dark crow. So her cheeks were as bright as tulip flower. Her voice was as soft as the wind or air in the night, which is quite calm and gentle. Her forehead was as bright as the rays of moon. So the beginning is thus quite pleasing, but after the fourth line, the poem turns to the dark reality. Even here, her hair was black as raven's wings. Here, her hair was compared with raven. So the black color of the raven is here symbolizes the black soul of the people, the black soul of the people, those cruelly treat this woman, cruelly treat this orphan girl. So here the description of the beauty of this girl, this orphan girl, is here in the first stanza. Her voice was tranquil in nature. So this beautiful feature of this girl can attract the people because she is now parentless. So the cruel people, bad people can attract towards this girl. So the first stanza of the poem was quite pleasing, but after the fourth line, the poet turns to the dark reality. Dark reality, that is the reality of her orphanhood, that how she became orphan. So now we'll see this. The sire word is used here. It means father. The sire or the father of that girl went to war and fought bravely, but ultimately lost his life. And he knew that before dying, because that all soldiers, those who fought in a war, they knew before dying that they are subject to death. Definitely, they are going to die. Maybe within an hour, maybe within a day, maybe in the next day, but definitely they are going to die. So this is the life of a soldier, that he knows very well that he is going to die one day, and even though he kept fighting. So here the poet sighs, this is the reward for a brave in this world. This is the reward for the brave soldier in this world, that is death. The phrase depicts the cruelty of the world and how it rewards the good and bold people. The death of her father was not borne by her mother. She couldn't bear the death of her father. Rather than leaving as a widow, she also died of a heart attack, and the young girl was left without parents. The first part begins with an appreciation of a young girl's beauty and ends with a tragedy. So this was the first part of the poem. And now we'll see the second part of the poem in detail. The second part describes the poet's uncertainty of her future in the world. She has no friends on this cold and bleak earth. So cold means without human warmth. So this how is the world for the girl? The world is cold for the girl because it is without human warmth. No one is giving that kind warmth to this orphan girl. No one is giving that that protective kind warmth to this girl. So this world seems cold to the girl without human warmth, and bleak too. The world is bleak means without hope. There is no hope for the future. There is no hope for the future. The future is uncertain. Nobody knows what will going to happen with the girl. That's why the world is cold and bleak. That is without hope. There is no one to give her a shelter, a home, and a hearth. Hearth, hearth also is associated with warmth. The word hearth is also associated here with warmth, warmth, human warmth, or love. So there is no one in this world for an orphan girl to give her shelter, a home, and and hearth means warmth or love. She will now have to live in this dull and depressing world. That is desert. So desert, the word desert here is being associated with or refers to the world which is full of desert without that warmth, without the moist, without love. The world is depressing for for this orphan girl. This world no more remained a world full of love, world full of warmth, but rather it remained for her depressing world. And that's why the world is here compared with desert. She will now have to live in this dull and desert, in this dull and depressing world alone. The poet again repeats the phrase that she has no friend and she should now stay away from being good and kind, as the cruel world will scorn, mock, and abuse her. And this cruel nature of the world will ultimately kill her. The poet laments the fact that the shame which she will suffer will be enough to squeeze blood from her breast with the weight of sorrows and guilt, and she will be oppressed by the world. The poet then says that it's very cruel to wound the bosom. The bosom here symbolizes that girl, that orphan girl. So the poet here says that she will suffer and will be enough to squeeze blood from her breast with a way of sorrows and guilt, and she will oppressed by the world. The poet then says that it's very cruel to wound the bosom, to wound that girl whose blood is coming out of the breast in an uncontrolled way because of sorrows and shame. So no tear in this world can be as painful as the tears that flows from the eyes of a sorrowful and oppressed woman. And the most blessed and honorable according to the poet is the man or the people, those who give shelter to an orphan from sorrow and shame. Those who give shelter to such orphan people, to such orphan children, to shelter them or to protect them from sorrow and shame and from the cruel world. Thus, this poem ends in the hope and uncertainty about the future of orphan. So the whole poem is about the uncertainty of the future of the orphan, but at the end, poet has shown some hope. He has shown a hope that there definitely there might be some good people, there might be some virtuous people. Those will help, or those will shelter, or those will protect such orphan children from the cruel world, from this desert world, or they will stop appearing this world desert for the orphan children. So with such people, the poet has left here hope of ray. The poem gives an insight into the condition of women and the suppression which she faced during the time of the poet. A girl whose parents would die had to live a shameful life and was physically, mentally, and sexually tortured by the people. So the poet discloses the social abuses which are the curses on society. So this was the poem, and I hope you have understood this poem. And this is an assignment for you. So again, you have to write the answer and you have to send it to me on our Google Classroom. Okay. So what is the question? The question is that write the critical appreciation of the poem The Orphan Girl. So thank you very much, dear students. In the next lecture, we'll deal with new poem. Thank you very much.